Hello everybody, Xanafari here, and today I am doing a review of episode 3 of the English dub of Ultraman Z. Let's get into the characters. Let's talk about Haruki! How is he in this episode? Well, his allergies are bugging him pretty bad where he can't stop sneezing. I can very much relate because my allergies been bugging me lately. Anyways, Haruki is pretty funny in this episode, so in my book, he's pretty good in this episode. Let's talk about Yoko. Yoko is pretty good in this episode. She talks to the sponsors about Sevenger, Haruki, and she gives Lord Z the Ultraman coin. What? Not that Lord Z. This one, Ultraman Z. Let's talk about the Chairman. I didn't talk about the Chairman first episode, but I liked him. He's very funny. I like how mad he gets and everything. In this episode, he's trying to get funding so they can build another robot. And it's a very funny scene, see him trying to emote Sevenger and everything, and him freaking out. It's just a really fun character. Bako appears and he upgraded Sevenger with a new attack, pretty cool. And yes, they're building a new robot, but they need funding for it. They ran out of money. And I like that. That's a very interesting thing about it. Very realistic in my opinion. The fact that they have to have money and funding. Something we don't see very much in these Ultraman shows. The rest of the characters? The captain has a very funny scene with the chairman and Yuka where he's talking about Gomora and how he should not wake up, and then he goes to Yuka and he's like, "Is that wait?" Very funny scene. Yuka has some very funny scenes in this episode as well, and Ultraman Z mostly talks to Haruki in the fight, and that's really it with him. He don't really say or do too much in this episode, except because Ultraman like a big brother, so that's pretty cool. So the characters in this episode are pretty good. Now the dubbing. In the last episode review, I said I didn't know who Bako's voice actor was, and well, I finally figured it out. He's being voiced by Kent Williams. Pretty cool. And Kent Williams is doing a great job at Bako. The voice fits so well with Bako. I really like it. And the chairman's voice is Ben Phillips, and he's doing a great job as a chairman. He captures that angry but nerded voice very well with the chairman, so he does a great job. The rest of the voice actors, Zeno Robinson is doing a great job with Haruki, especially with him sneezing a lot in this episode. Sounds very natural. The other voice actors are doing a great job as well. The only thing though is the Americans. Now, in the proper episode, they do speak Japanese, but some of them do speak English. They decided to dub them all. It's something I found very weird, and I didn't really understand why you need to dub them all. Like, I could understand but dubbing the main dude, but it just sounds off-putting, and their dubbing is not that good. So the dubbing, at least with the main characters, are good in this episode. Let's talk about the effects. The Ultraman Z versus Gomora fight scene. Fight! It's a really good fight scene, and it's just so much fun to watch this fight scene go down. Talk about Gygas. Gygas is a very cool ape kaiju. I liked him a lot, and it's very cool he reappears in this because, well, he only appeared in the original Ultraman, and I think that's very cool. And sadly, this is his last appearance. Hopefully, he will reappear in the future Ultraman show because he's a cool kaiju. Now let's talk about Beta Smash, the fusion form of Ultraman, Ace, and Taro. It's a very badass form. I like how he looks, I like how buff he is, and how he fights. It's a very cool form. The city effects are amazing looking, so the effects in this episode are fantastic. My criticisms. Now, what I said, the dubbing for the Americans is not that good. Also, the American actors are also not that good either. They're quite cringy and over the top. Yes, it's funny, but it's just not good acting. That's really my only criticism for this episode. What do I like about this episode? Well, I already said a few things. I thought it was cool to see Gygas again, and I really liked the fact that they need funding, because that's very realistic. They are going to build a robot. And I also really liked the fact that they played the Ultra Q music when Gomora rolled up. That was very cool. So what is my final thoughts on episode 3 of Ultraman Z? Now, the first time I seen this episode, I did not like this episode. But the second time, I actually really started to like it a bit more. I don't think this episode is as good of episode 1 and 2, but I would say this episode is pretty okay. So that is pretty much it for this review. thank you so much for watching. Tell me down below what you think of this episode, and if you like this video, drop a like for this video. If you're new, subscribe. Also, if you hadn't seen the dub for Ultraman Z, but you've seen Ultraman Z, I highly recommend check out the dub because it's adding a different perspective for me, and I highly recommend it because this dub is really good. Hopefully, if this dub does well, hopefully there will be more dubs for other Ultraman shows. Okay, Xanathar is out.